Hello, I'm Juta Adkins, better known as Tamaya Adkins, and I just want to welcome you today as I share with you these things that are on my heart. Um, it makes me sad. I see our nation is so divided, so many things that are going on today, and I know many of your hearts out there are sad as well. And I believe that we can change things. And I believe if we put our heart and mind to it and work in unity, we can do anything we set our minds to do. And, you know, it breaks my heart to see so many that are so bitter and so hateful. And I know as you do, I do as well, is wonder how did we get here? What has happened? Well, I think if we really think about it, that we see that we haven't been taking care of America. We're responsible as citizens here to take care of this great nation, to do what our part. And if each and every one of us do our part, and if we vote when we need to vote, and we, you know, go and see, when the Senate's up and Congress is up and even our city officials, we let those things go so many times we don't realize that those things are really having an impact on us of their agenda. So we need to get caught up and read up and find out what we can do as our part in America. But I urge you, each and every one of us can do these in love. We can do these. United we stand, divided we fall. That is a true saying. There is absoluteness in those words. And if you and I will work together to make America better and not get out and, act crazy because we can't have our way about something, I know we can do it. I know that we can start a revolution of love. I know that we can have kindness toward one another and look out for one another. And this brings me to this. And also, I want to invite you to go on How Big Is God? That's my webpage, .org, and read the articles that I've written. I believe that they will help you and bless you. And please comment if you so desire. If not, then I understand as well. A lot of people don't like to. But it's good feedback for me, and I would appreciate it. And from time to time, I write things on Facebook. So let's talk. Let's have a conversation. There's so many that's not having conversations. And you know what? We can work to resolve everything that is before us with the help of God. And if we stay involved as a country, as a nation, individually, if we stay involved as a church and we pray for one another and help one another and be kind to one another, I tell you, it can make the biggest difference in the world. And I think you know that. And I just want to bring some things to your mind today. I want to just talk about some things with you that I believe probably is on your mind. Maybe you don't want to say them because you're fearful. Or maybe you just don't know how to say them. And maybe you're angry and you don't need to say them. But anyways, I want to ask you today, have you ever thought about, let's just talk for a minute. Have you ever thought about the word sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? Have you ever thought about who started those words? Who are advocating those words? And what did they have in mind when they started speaking these kind of words? Well, because you know as well as I know that words are very powerful. And these words are very devilish and very cruel. Because I know individuals, and I'm sure you do too, that they said their parents even told them, you're just never going to amount to anything. Can you imagine a parent saying that to their child? But I've known individuals that have had those things said to them. And they registered on their hearts so strongly that they grew up thinking, no matter what I do, it's not going to make a difference. No matter what I say, it's not going to make a difference. This is what negative words do. These words are very powerful. And until someone come along and counseled them and talked to them, and I shared with them, listen to me, get rid of those words, bury them in a hole someplace, and don't look at them again. Don't let them cross your mind anymore. And they turned out to be some of the most productive people ever was, and had gifts. Oh my, what are we doing to one another? What do we do to our children when we say things like that? And how about our nation when it says, you're fat, you're ugly, you're never gonna, you're never gonna have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Shame on us. Is this the kind of words that are productive, that are going to bless and help people? 1,000 no's, and you know that. But yet we have people get on the internet today. Instead of using it for something wonderful, they get on the internet, and because maybe a girl has lost her boyfriend and he's going out with another girl, that girl is hateful, gets on the internet and runs that girl down and destroys her life and says things that are not true, just like was what's going on in our nation. If you think you can go around saying things that are not true about people and that you skate by, you will not. Because those words one day will come back to you in your ears or in your family's ears. Those things will happen to you because they always come to our door. They always come back to us. So anyways, I like so many of you others, I watched this Million Women March. I didn't watch all of it. I couldn't tolerate it. And I saw Ashley Judd, who I thought was one of our better actresses today, coming out and quoting a poem by a 19-year-old girl, Nina Donovan. And let me ask you, this little girl probably just come out of college or whatever. And my heart hurts. What is this young lady learning? What kind of propaganda and what kind of thing does she think about our nation? What has she learned through school and through college that she has come to this writing this kind of stuff? This is trash. And anyways, Ashley Judd gets up and she uses it. And she compares our nation basically to communism and our newly elected president that she hasn't even given 1 minute. And what just really disturbed me, and I imagine many of you, is that he just got done with the speech saying he wanted to work for all American people. And they're acting like they're going to be stripped of everything. I don't understand that. America is one of the most wonderful places to live, and the most giving people. And I know things through bureaucratic steps have really choked hold so many things, but he said he wanted to give it back to American people, and we the people can change those things. But this is not the way to change those things. So anyway, she gets up and she talks about, compares our newly elected president to Hitler. Now let me ask you something. Are we thinking at all? Or are we just so used to getting our way? And it's all about me, the big I, that we'll do just about anything and come down to any level to get our way. Is that it? Did people even think, did Ashley Judd and parents that were in those crowds, and I'm sure had children with them, these little children holding their hands, their grandparents and their parents' hands, while they heard all of these speeches, Madonna talking about that she'd like to blow up the White House. And, children are affected so deeply with these things. And if our children heard grown-ups acting this way and saying these things, comparing a free America to a communist country or or our president as Hitler, what is our children going to grow up having any kind of reference to? Especially if they learn about countries that have tyrants and that are communist, and they have their thumb on their people. I studied literature, and no wonder we wanted to break away from England. The kings that back in those times, you couldn't even paint a picture without the king saying you could do it. And when you did it, you had to paint that picture of a person without any emotion whatsoever. Now, we moved along. We had the Renaissance age and et cetera, et cetera. There was a lot of things, of course, that changed. But America wanted to be free. And that's why we come to the United States of America. And our forefathers paid a horrible price. And these young teens and these college students are not taught anything. And I know this is where a lot of the socialistic agenda comes from, is these professors with tenure that has been there for so long you can't get them out. But we need to find a way, because this is when people don't know where they come from and they have no history. The same thing, they have no reference. Anybody can tell them anything, and that's what's happening. They've taken all the history out of our schools, and they have turned it into a platform where they can spout their socialistic political agenda. So now we have all of these college students, many, and I'm not saying they're all just college students, but the biggest majority are. And they are, when I see them ask questions about our nation, they don't even know who the president is presently or vice president. It breaks my heart. And when they can't answer simple questions, what are they learning? But when you take history away from people and you have no idea what people, our forefathers paid, I've studied it, they paid with blood, sweat, and tears, and many of them died broke and had nothing to leave their families because they wanted to see us be free. They didn't want tyrants telling them what to do and how to live any longer. They couldn't own property. They couldn't. Do you want to go back to that, where you have nothing to call your own, and that basically is just lent to you? I'm sure you don't. But anyways, we have young children that is out there in the crowds listening to grown-ups. Now, I don't know about you. I spent the better part of my parenting telling my children, you be kind to your fellow classmate. Never make fun of anyone that's crippled or can't help what their situation is. And always respect adults and teachers. If they're doing something that needs to be, that's upsetting you, you come and tell me, and we'll take care of it. But I always told my children to respect people. Now, let me ask you, what did these children think about Ashley Judd up there spouting things about communism and about our new president? She sees Hitler and coming down these streets, all of this stuff. I don't even remember. It just was so upsetting to me. And I'm an adult. And then you have Madonna spouting that she would like to blow up the White House. Now, a lot of children, what would you do if you told your child no one day, you're going to take you and dad has to go someplace, and you're going to take him to grandma's house and grandpa's, but he doesn't want to go. And so, anyways, he gets to grandma and grandpa's house and he talks ugly to them because he's mad. Like Ashley was mad. And then they said, well, you go to the other room and sit down and just be quiet for a minute until you can respect us and come out and talk something positive. Oh, and he finds a pack of matches that his grandmother lights a candle with. So what's he do? He starts a fire because he's mad. Because you just said that's the way to handle things. That's how he perceived that. So then you go to pick him up and you say, what did you start a fire in your grandma and grandpa's house for? And the fire trucks are going and they're putting out fire. And now you're standing responsible for your child. What are you going to tell him? You tell me. What are you going to say that is going to make a difference at this point? Are you going to tell him don't act that way? Are you going to tell him those are things we don't do? Because now it's your parents' house. Now that it come home to you. What are we thinking? Are we thinking at all? Do you think for a minute that these people like Michael Moore and George Soros that's pushing this stuff, that is connected with you on this stuff, that they care about your cause? I can tell you no. George Soros comes from Budapest, Hungary. And he wants to destroy America. Michael Moore and George Soros and people like him have so much money they don't know what to do with themselves. So they love it when you get all stirred up and into a tizzy and to the place that steam comes out your ears. The more chaos, the better. Because you know why? They get a thrill up their leg. They say, look what we've done. And you think that they're not behind a lot of this? You think we don't listen to the wrong people and associate with the wrong people and come to these decisions? If we have a student that sits in school all day long and listens to a professor or an instructor that is spouting a propaganda and socialistic agenda and think that that's not forming his ideas, his decisions. So when you hang out with the wrong people, parents, it's no different. So now you're going to tell your child this is wrong, and he's going to look at you and he's going to say, really? Well, I just heard you up making a speech about all of this stuff and saying it was okay. Are you going to tell him, I didn't say it was okay? Because they're going to say, yes. Anyways, he's going to say, yes, you did, Mom. You got up there and said, I heard McDonough talk about she would like to blow up the White House. And not only them, but others that spoke things that should have never been spoken. So it's very hard for us to stand for something or tell our children to stand for something that we're not standing up for. But I tell you, we can start a love revolution. We can send these socialistic people back to their communist country. We can let them know that their political correctness is no longer accepted and that we're going to not listen to that anymore and that we're going to start being kind to one another. Yes, and colorblind. You know, we all, just like our president said, we were all on a battlefield, white, black, or brown. We all bleed the same way, the same color of blood. We all have to eat, sleep, work if we're going to be successful. And yes, if we're going to be successful in other parts of our life, we have to work at it. Getting out in the streets and acting like a fool is not working at anything. But I know, I used to tell my children when they get down and play or try to build something, they would get so frustrated. And I'd tell them, get away from it for a few minutes, and then you'll come back to it, and it'll be okay. You'll build it. We need to get away for a few minutes. We need to all shut our faces for a while. Only speak up when, but we don't need to carry on like idiots. Stop and think about what we're doing. Do a self-examination. Ask ourselves why we're doing what we're doing. Why are we fighting this fight this way? Why are we standing before young children saying those things? Is it for money? God forbid. You know what? I don't know about you. I don't know about others, but I would rather do without anything. I'd rather suck it up and do without anything as to see my children grow up in a nation like this with grown-ups acting like idiots. And I'm not just talking about one side. I'm talking about all of us. We all have a responsibility. Again, I want to thank you today. I pray that I said something that will help you. I pray that we can start a love revolution and be kind to one another. We can resolve our problems. Again, united we stand, divided we fall. Those are words that we can bank on. These other words, sticks and stones, may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, are not words that could be banked on. And there's other words. Have you ever thought about who started the words, "Oh, the richer get richer and the poor get poorer"? Well, a lot of those words I heard, I come from Michigan. A lot of those words I heard growing up. And a lot of them come from the union leaders because they were trying to push their agenda. We need to think about where these things come from because there's opportunity for everyone in the United States of America. When I stopped and thought about things said like that, I realized that those were words that didn't count for anything. Those were words that were destructive. Those were words that would make me look in the opposite direction of where I wanted to go. So I beg you, stop and think about what you're saying, what you're receiving. Your mind is a receiver all day long and receives things. And then if you think about them long enough, they get in your heart and they make you a very productive person if you hear the right things, or a very destructive person if you hear the wrong things. And it takes, you know what? It's a whole lot easier to love one another and care for one another. It takes a whole lot less energy than getting up and being ugly and trampling on somebody's rights, which are your rights too. Because when you start trampling, you realize it's going to affect me too. All of these socialistic agendas that are being passed. We're crazy if we think we passed those things and they're not going to affect our children and our grandchildren, that they're just for you. They're just for those stupid other people. Really? No. If they're passed as a law, we all will be under that law. Well, thank you for listening today. Have a blessed day, and I'll talk to you again. Remember to go to howbigisgod.org, read my articles, and I hope you enjoy them. Goodbye.